You are a failure as a human being. And the funny thing is, Myron, is that women inherently understand that. Why else do you think that the most miserable, the stereotype, the archetype of the most miserable woman in most miserable people in America, there was a study on this, is a 42-year-old woman, unmarried, who's a lawyer. Okay, well, wait a minute, Donovan. She's accomplished something. She's a lawyer. Doesn't mean shit. Because men, as you always say, Myron, men, we derive pleasure and satisfaction in accomplishing things. Women derive pleasure in the relationships they make, being able to acquire a husband and having a family. If you, as a woman, ends up without a family, or if you're a baby mama and not married, or if you're a spinster, you have failed at life, period.
Yeah. And we don't have objective measurements of success and failure because we're too concerned with people's feelings. I mean, we have objective measurements for men, right? Yep. Like, you can still pick on a guy and say, oh, you don't got a job, you're a fucking bum. You live with your mom, you're a loser. But we don't have these same objective measurements for women because we've allowed women to adopt masculine traits. We've allowed women to enter the workforce. We've allowed women to behave like men, right? And
yes.
we go ahead and we attribute masculine successes to women as W's, and I would argue it's not. If anything, I would say the masculine successes that they do achieve are actually counterproductive.
Absolutely. To
the feminine achievements that they need to achieve to actually feel fulfillment. If we're going to be all the way 1,000, because we know for every dollar that she earns, she's going to want a man that makes about 56% more of that. So what ends up happening when she ends up making this money? Well, guess what? Her ability to acquire, right, to meet, attract, and retain the man that she wants, the chances drop off precipitously as she earns more money.
There you go.
But we don't have these difficult discussions because we're more concerned with making women feel good versus telling them what is good. Right. And what is good is that you need to fucking understand the more you become successful, the lower the likelihood a man that you want is going to want you back.
Dude, I've said that for years. The more status, the more money, the more accomplishments, the further she climbs up the corporate ladder, the further she shrinks her pool of potential suitors. It's a tale as old as time itself. And women don't realize this until it's way too late. It's a shame.
No, it's really bad. And the reason why is because information like this is censored.
There you go.
What?
There you go.
This awareness has really been a thing. Like, it's been around for decades. So people understand. Like, this RP awareness thing has been around since the fucking 90s, man. Like, there's forums on this shit. However, it's really only blown up, I would say, since 2020, when we hit the scene, Andrew Tate, etc. We've kind of mainstreamed it, right? But they did everything in their power to suppress this information for obvious reasons. Shadow banning it, banning videos, demonetization, etc. They don't want this information getting out there, because they look at it like, oh my God, well, this is hate speech, blah, blah, blah. Is it really hate speech? Is it really hate speech if it's the truth? Right? And that's
the way they see it.
And that's the problem. Again, this is another issue where there's another byproduct of allowing women to be in positions of power in the marketplace of ideas. Well, they're going to interpret things through their feelings, right? Hate speech, contrary to what people think, is still protected speech under the First Amendment, right? And sometimes you need to hear uncomfortable speech to wake the fuck up. And that's where we are now, where I got to say things that are considered ridiculous or wild or far right to get people's attention, to get them, look, there's a problem. We've shifted so fucking far left that you need someone like me to come back far right to bring things back in the center and make it sensible. That's how crazy we've gotten now. Where,
this is how it is, man.
Where we've brainwashed modern women into thinking that just behave like a man and you'll be happy. No.
Oh, God, yeah.
That is the recipe for success. If I told men, just behave like a woman, go ahead and go find a woman that's going to take care of you, right? Don't focus on making money. Don't focus on going to the gym and being strong. Don't focus on being a provider. Just focus on finding a woman that's going to take care of you. I would argue that most men would probably end up depressed, sad, and fucked.
100%.
So don't sit there and tell me now that, oh, well, women are happy. No, they're not. A lot of them are very sad and angry because they've been lied to. Because if I reverse the roles and I put men in this situation and told them to behave like women, they would be fucking depressed. And a lot of them are. Because we tell them it's okay for them to just participate. Why do we have all these sad boys? Why do we have all these depressed men? It's because we tell them, right, that how they feel is more important than the reals. We don't tell them that your merit is significantly important to your ability to be happy as a man. Show me a guy that's making a bunch of money, that's going to the gym, that's killing it in life, that's fucking depressed. Very few.
Crickets.
Very fucking few. Depression is a healthy response to inadequacy.
Ooh,
right?
wow.
It is. And it's good. Depression is fucking good. I said it. You need it sometimes to kick you in the ass to make you realize, damn, I'm a fucking loser. Whacking off to porn every single day. I don't have any money. My mom supports me. I can't support myself. I'm a fucking loser and I'm depressed. Good, motherfucker. That's God's way of telling you that you're a piece of shit and you need to bring things up. But why do we not do that for women? Why do we not do that for them? Why do we not sit there and like, hey, you got a career, but you don't have a family. You don't have kids. You're sleeping every night by yourself, drinking fucking wine to stave off the pain that you're a fucking loser. Why don't we do this for women? Because I find it interesting that if a man behaved like a woman, he'd probably feel sad. Well, guess what?
Right.
There's a bunch of women that behave like men that they're sad too. And we don't tell them the truth. Hey, bitch, you're sad because you haven't fulfilled your feminine requirements, which is to have a family and have a man that actually gives a shit about you. That's what matters, not your fucking career. Not one person gives a fuck and says, damn, man, I got with her because she's a doctor. Nobody, bro. Nobody gives a fuck. But we lie. We tell them prioritize your career over a family. And then by the time they wake up and realize, oh, shit, I do want a family. Too late, bitch. 37 years old.
It's over.
It's cooked. Cooked.
And I agree with you. Depression is God or nature's way of telling you that you fucked up. Why else do you think that all these hoes out here are depressed? It's because you're not supposed to be it's because you're not supposed to be fucking random niggas until you're 30, 35, until you finally decide to jump off the cock carousel and take life and relationships seriously. It is why 25% of modern women are either on anti-anxiety or anti-depression medications or some combination of both.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just, it's interesting because when you look at it from the male perspective, like this all makes sense and it's common sense and sensible. But if I go ahead and say, okay, well, let's put the shoe on the other foot. If a woman behaves like a man, she's probably going to be depressed too. Because I'll tell you this, no fucking red-blooded male, right, is going to sit there and be happy while trying to pursue a woman that's going to pay his bills. Like, no guy's going to do that. So why the fuck do we tell women, right, to chase being successful and a career? That's not fulfilling to them. Just like it's not fulfilling for us to go ahead and chase a woman that's going to pay our bills. Number one, it's not feasible. It's not going to happen.
No, hell no.
And then number two, like you're not doing you're not fulfilling your masculine burden of performance. Just like a woman, you can't attract a man to take you seriously and give you a last name. You're not fulfilling your female burden of performance. It's just that we hide the female burden of performance because we don't want to tell women they're losers. We do everything in our power. We have an entire industry shaped around, profiting by, and established to lie to women under the guise of it's okay so that they can make money. When you lie, like we said before, women buy.
Women buy.
We have an entire economy on lying to females. Don't believe me? Look at some of the most popular fucking dating coaches. Who are they? Matthew
Derek
Hussey,
Jackson,
Derek
Matthew
Jackson,
Hussey,
etc. What the fuck do they do? All they do is lie to women all day. Dr. Oz. Oh yeah, well, you can lose weight with just put this little cream on you and you lose some weight. Like it's all female marketing is all smoke and mirrors because they would rather hear flattering lies than uncomfortable truths.
Steve Harvey.
And then you motherfuckers like me to go on TikTok and say, you bitches are retarded. Oh my God, outrage. They send me fucking message at 2 o'clock in the morning saying I'm a misogynist, but they know I'm telling the truth.
How dare you?
Good.
No, I totally agree. I think women respond to what feels good, right? And I think, listen, I mean, shout out to Madison Avenue because the advertisers out in New York City figured out a long time ago, like you said, when you lie, women buy. Women would rather hear what they want than hear what they need. That's one of the main differences between men and women. Women respond favorably when they hear what they want. They respond adversely when they hear what they need. And it's just like dating here in 2025. Women are only going after the men they want rather than going after the men they need. And there are too many guys who tell women what they want, who tell women what they want to hear instead of telling women what they need to hear.
Yeah, and it's because guys want to sleep with them.
There he is. There it is. And guess what? It works.
Yeah,
it works.
I think men have kind of caught on to solve their reproductive problem and get the sexual access that they want. Being transparent and truthful is not conducive to getting laid. So, Bill Burr, I think famously said this shit. No one tells women to shut up because they want to have sex with them.
Yep,
so there you go. Right. So it puts them in a
Interestingly enough,
very...
when you do tell women to actually shut the fuck up, it actually makes them want to sleep with you because you're probably the first guy in her life to tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's a very strange premise in society that we have with when it comes to feminism, modern women, etc. It really is. And again, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into other social issues, but I think people need to understand that the massive push in feminism has led to the degradation of so many other institutions in society that have created problems.
100%.
If you look at any issue in America, you can almost always tie it back to fucking feminism every single time.
Yep.
It's a cancer that's plagued this country. It's a cancer that's plagued the Western world in general, right? It is why the United States is not as powerful as it used to be, where it was undisputed that we were the world fucking power after World War II. But after World War II, what happened? Well, feminism blew up after World War II.
There you go.
After we bombed Japan and let them know who the fucking boss is, and we're the world power, what ended up happening was feminism reared its fucking ugly head. And then next thing you know, now we're getting surpassed by fucking China and Russia and these other countries that we're adversaries with. So
feminism,
this has geopolitical this has feminism, right? What we're talking about has negative ramifications on other topics. But sorry, you were saying?
Right. Feminism permeates everything. It permeates relationships, the economy, the military, everything. And I would submit this to you. Feminism is the worst thing to happen in the history of the world. It is quite literally destroying the world from the inside out. And we're seeing a result of that right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I did a pod yesterday. For those that are unaware, Myron Gaines X, where I do way more political commentary. But what I will say, because this kind of aligns with this, is Pete Hegseth, right, the nominee for the Secretary of Defense. You know, they beat him up for saying women shouldn't be in combat roles. This is a guy that served this country. He's been in combat, unlike a lot of the fucking brass up there in Washington, D.C. You know, he was there day to day and understands that women in combat positions might not necessarily be the most conducive to our overall success. And, you know, they grow them on that. They absolutely grow them on it. They said, what are you talking about? You're a misogynist, you're a sexist, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, this is just very common sense that women are inferior to men in almost every physical regard. And quite frankly, the last thing I want is for a woman to be on a fucking battlefield, right? In war, where now she could be taken as a prisoner of war and be used as a political ploy to put us in a very bad diplomatic position. And there's a bunch of reasons why. We're on YouTube, and I don't want to say specifically, but I will say it has to deal with potential rape and a lot of problems. And the example I gave of this, right, where it puts us in an inferior diplomatic position from a negotiating standpoint, is look at Brittany Griner. For those that are unaware, this is a woman, right, a black woman that's a lesbian, WNBA star, ended up getting arrested in Russia for violating the crimes for controlled substance. She had like a weed pen. They put her in jail. Guess what happened? Now we're in a weird diplomatic place because we need to go ahead and negotiate for the betterment of a minority woman that's a lesbian. Who's in office? Fucking Biden. Well, we know that Democrats are extremely sensitive to race issues. So what do? We go ahead and we trade Victor fucking Bout, the merchant of death, the guy that was responsible for tens of thousands of deaths in fucking Africa selling weapons illegally, that was arrested by the feds and convicted. We go ahead and trade him over for Brittany fucking Griner. Why? In the name of political correctness, right? In the name of, she checks a bunch of boxes, we need to get her back. So we put ourselves in a very weak negotiating position, and we traded someone who's a really bad guy to get back a WNBA player. It was one of the worst trades ever that I've ever seen. And at Fuck Sports, we're talking about real life trades. It was a big fucking L. And this is what I mean. That is a microcosm of a much larger problem, which is feminism. Okay? Like, and now that's just from like that hit the world, that put us in a bad position diplomatically to negotiate that. Now, could you imagine if they go ahead and they have a female prisoner of war, right? And they're using that to negotiate to put us in a bad position? We've seen this before. Israel deals with it all the time. They're doing it right now. They're going ahead and trading like 1,000 Palestinian prisoners for a couple of hostages. Why? Because whenever you have a certain political state, right, or mindset or whatever, especially when you adopt feminism because you want to go ahead and make things politically correct and nice, what's up happening is you weaken your workforce, you make yourself vulnerable, and then if that person is kidnapped, right, you have to go ahead and negotiate from a position of disadvantage to get that person back to avoid backlash, right? And now with the whole Israel situation, that's a completely different situation. But what I'm trying to explain here is that whenever you're negotiating politically like this, you put yourself in a bad position, right? And now you have to go ahead and have more skin in the game and put yourself in a spot where it's like, damn, well, now we got to give more than they're giving in the pursuit of political correctness versus, this is going to sound dark, but let's say we had only men in the military and they're prisoners of war, right? Though I am big on getting all of our soldiers back, etc., it won't put us in the same dire constraints to negotiate with enemies as it would if we had a female captive. Right. And that puts us in a bad spot.
And you want to know what the worst thing about the Brittany Griner situation was? Before she was captured in Russia, she didn't, dude. So we released the merchant. We traded the merchant of death for a woman who doesn't even love her country. This woman did her level best.
Took a knee during during the anthem.
I'm trying to tell you, but I tell you what, I'll bet she fucking loves America now, doesn't she?
Yeah. And that's an extreme example, but this is what I'm trying to explain, where feminism, right, puts women
everything
and fucks shit up and puts us in a precarious situation. So when Pete Hegseth is there testifying and they're trying to obfuscate, say, oh, well, you have these issues with alcohol, blah, 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 and you have these misogynistic views with women. Well, I would agree with him that, look, he doesn't want women in positions in combat because, number one, that puts her in danger, but it also compromises our military, because if she is captured, that is a big fucking W for the adversary, because they will use that in other propaganda to force our hand to negotiate with them. Crazy. To go ahead and put ourselves in a situation where we're doing a bad trade. We'll be like Israel, trading 1,000 captives, right, for one IDF soldier, like they did back in 2006 with Elad. So that's what I mean when I say that stuff. I use the Israel example, where I'm just saying the point of that example is to show that this is what ends up happening, right, when you have vulnerabilities in the eyes of political correctness.
Right. And this again is how far and wide the scourge of feminism affects everybody. It doesn't just affect relationships. It's affected the family. It's affected the military. It's affected politics. Again, the worst thing to happen in the history of the world is feminism.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, we're stringing together, guys, like, obviously, like these womanized frames, right? This is coming from egalitarianism / feminism, but this is kind of, we're walking you guys through as to how this has like long-term negative ramifications in different industries in society. Right? No. So,
yep.
All right, where are we at now? Are we on like the top three, or?
Yeah, we're in the top three. I was gonna wait and do the top three until, if you guys got the chats.
Yeah,
if you want to go through the chats, and then we'll do the top three.
We could do the chats.
Okay, very good.
But yeah, man, everything could be weaved back to that.
That's right. It to me, it's the common denominator in terms of most of the problems here, especially in America and the West.
Yeah. Yep. And we'll be like Israel now, trading fucking, a bunch of enemy combatants to get back one woman. That was my example when I was trying to string the two together. It puts us in a very bad negotiating place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the public outcry for getting back a female prisoner is going to be so large that they can't ignore it. Look at Brittany Griner. She broke the law. She did some stupid shit. But the enormous amount of pressure on the Biden administration to get her back, because she's a woman, she's gay, she's lesbian, she fits all this criteria.
She checks off all the boxes.
She checks off all the boxes and put an enormous amount of pressure on the Biden administration to make a bad deal.
That was not a value for value exchange. That was a value loaded exchange.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
Putin walked away with a huge fucking W on that one.
Yes, he did.
Huge.
Yes, he did.
What do we got up next?